Do we need more food? No, we don't. Not the way things are going. There is too much food in the world. Everybody's producing more food and destroying it. People are starving in parts of the world, but that's because of corruption, because they won't let people have food. It's all right now in a very large scale, Monsanto-driven food production, and other companies, Syngenta and DuPont, competing with the same thing. They have lawsuits against each other in courts, but then they make out-of-court settlements or whatever. But the same objective of all these companies to sell the same products and control the food supply. It is not to produce more food, it's to control food supply. This is what Monsanto declared back in 1990. There's a manifesto. An executive of Monsanto company gave a speech in Canada how they're going to control the whole world. That if the CEOs of about 10 organizations got together, they will control what's called intellectual property rights. In other words, they don't have any product. They only have ideas that they want to sell. They will even give away their seeds. And everybody is talking about producing more food with the help of so-called technology. What is the technology? That technology is the second or third green revolution. The first green revolution, India and Mexico are paying dearly for already. In India, during the last few years, 200,000 farmers have committed suicide because they cannot afford to pay for the fertilizer and the pesticide, which is being subsidized by the banks and the governments. And when the farmers don't make enough money, they produce too much food, then they commit suicide by drinking the same pesticide. This is what's happening in India. So imagine if this continues, the farmers in Canada may not be committing suicide, some are, but they're in the same boat because they're going bankrupt. The farmers in Canada have lost their farms. In Ontario alone, during the last 30 years or so, 40% of the farms have disappeared. The average age of a farmer in Canada is over 60 years. The proportion of farmers in Canada has gone down to less than 1.5%, when 50 years ago it used to be 25%. So in other words, there's virtually no farmers left. Is that the solution? Is that what we want for Canada? Canada is the most precious country on earth. It has this land, it has water, it has small population, highly educated population, multicultural population. It knows it has all the possibilities. And it can, if it wants, produce enough food to feed half the world. It can't even feed itself to remain healthy. What's the final solution? The final solution for this has to be with the people themselves. It won't be the farmers. There are two things that people can do. One is that they have to now say, enough is enough. This is our right. It is not the governments or the companies to tell them what they should eat. It's not the Monsantos of this world who think they're going to feed the hungry world. It is people themselves, the people of Canada, the most precious country on earth. It is for the people to now demand of their politicians and governments that it is their divine right, it is their constitutional right under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms to feed and eat what nature makes, to feed their families. Therefore, they are the ones who are going to say, we do not want these 5 materials in our food supply: hormones, antibiotics, slaughterhouse waste, genetically modified organisms, and pesticides. Remove them, ban them. Because if you don't, we have the right to sue government. We have the right to sue parliament. We have the right to stop the whole business in our country, because after all, the country belongs to us, the people of this country. It is not the government. It is not the corporations. Time has changed. Since Charles I was beheaded, it is the same right we have that the British people invoked then, the French people invoked in France, and everywhere else. These are the democracy. This is the democracy the Americans built after the Boston Tea Party. So that, how do we now implement it? If the governments don't listen, here comes the final solution. The final solution is that we have to change, we have to revise all over the world the education system. We have to take charge of the education system, because all education system throughout the world is now based on the industrial revolution model emanating from Europe. And then this industrialization of the farm began. First the mechanization, then chemicalization, then the elimination of the farm. We are at that stage. How do we come back? How do we now recover that same right and the same way for the good of humanity? All the education system all over the world today is given purely book education, purely theoretical, arithmetic, mathematics, science, chemistry, engineering, whatever we learn, computers, medicine, all is given purely from the books. I think the time has come to go back, that it should all be centered around food production, so that every school, every rural area, every village, people grow their own food without the 5 materials that I talked about. No hormones, no antibiotics, no slaughterhouse waste, no genetically modified organisms, no pesticides. And once we start growing food that way, then parents, children, teachers, everybody works together, and all the education is learned around these practicals, chemistry, whatever they learn, it should be computing and bartering and business and everything else. What happens in doing that, then you only grow food that you need. You don't grow excess foods. You don't need to. The food becomes local. The food becomes natural. The food becomes organic. Animals come back. The earthworms come back. Whole environment begins to heal. The earth heals, and the air heals, and the water heals. Everything heals. And you eat enough. You don't need to produce. You don't need to deplete the earth. And that way, we don't need more roads. We don't need planes. We don't need ships to transport food. I'm not saying we stop civilization. That's not what's intended here. But food should be taken out of the economic equation. And it will get out of the economic equation if people start to grow their own food. You can grow enough food even on your balconies, in schoolyards, in any place. There's plenty of land on Earth. There's plenty of water on Earth, and the population is already in the decline. And therefore, there's no other reason for us to keep on going the Monsanto way. And people are screaming how to stop it. People, without violence to anybody else or to themselves or to the environment, we just say we're going to grow our own food. By doing so, we're going to heal the earth. We're going to heal the environment. We're going to heal our own health. We won't need to spend as much money. Now you have time to enjoy yourself. Now you have time for arts. Now you have time to reflect on existence. Now you have time to be with God, your maker, and say, here I am. I am a good human being. This is the way I was made. This is the way I want to live. This is how we should be living.